we did have a trio of, official new guys come in for visits. We talked about one of the guys leading up to it potentially having their name being linked, but now we officially had all the meetings this weekend in terms of Zach Frazier. Obviously, that's the center from West Virginia that we've talked about potentially taking him in the second round. Cooper DeJean, obviously, is the other versatile corner safety punt returner that we talked about out of Iowa. He came in this weekend as well. And then Benny Bishop, slot corner from West Virginia, was also here. All right, so with Zach Frazier, Benny Bishop, those were local visits, so they didn't count against the top 30 just because of the proximity of where they live, their address, compared to where the team is. The rule is, I think it's like within an hour, or it's like a 2-hour window. If you can drive there, then you don't count as a top 30 visit officially, or you're considered a local visit. So that's how you can get it. And it's funny too, now on this stage, Deke, that makes way more sense. I did not go on a visit, Deke, to the Redskins because they called me a local visit. I was like, y'all playing with me, bro. Yeah, I did not understand that that's what it meant. It's just like, yo, it's proximity. I was like, bro, if you don't call me a top 30, I'm not coming to you locally, bro. You trying to play with me right here, man. Totally wigged out. But now I notice, like, yo, take all the visits, all right? If it's a local visit, take the local visit, bro. You might get drafted by the team in a local visit. You never know. It does not mean bad. It just means proximity. So those were the three, but we know with two of those names, we talked about not a little bit. We talked about one a lot more than the other, but Zach Frazier and Cooper DeJean coming in, that does check off another one of those boxes where either one of those guys could potentially be one of those guys that we take. And just want to kind of get your thoughts on it, man.
Also, Jackson Powers Johnson too.
Yes, indeed.
That
Indeed. Official now. Yes.
Yeah, there were questions.
We're getting
about
officials. We're getting officials now, man.
Yeah, which is good.
And we've talked about the official thing, but just a reminder of what, like, while we're referencing this stuff, the history with the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, has shown that their draft picks, man, first rounders especially, or any of them top dudes, man, they're either at a pro day, they got a combine meeting, or they got one of these top 30 visits, man. And you start looking back at all the guys that we drafted, especially early on, they have some combination of that. So with these guys coming in now for these local visits, it's just, like I said, man, putting a little bit more focus on them now because of that. But in terms of both of them centers, though, man, we definitely are excited to have both of them visits happening.
Right. I was getting a little concerned because of the checklist. And they don't hit everything because Tomlin and Kahn didn't visit Jackson Powers Johnson, and I don't think they visited Zach Frazier. They only visited a few schools. It was like the big ones, like Ohio State and Georgia.
And
was LSU.
So in the way that they did, if I remember correctly, I think I wrote this down. So I forgot who went to Zach Frazier's pro day. I know Graham Barton, Arthur Smith went to his pro day. And then Jackson Powers Johnson. Wow, I feel like Pat Myers. It was something with Pat Myers and him. That's
he was
the one.
There.
Yeah.
But yeah, typically, there's some stat, there's some type of trend where over the last like 15 drafts, Tomlin Kahn have visited, and for the pro days, they had the combine visits and then the pre-draft visits, and with Powers Johnson and Zach Frazier up to this point, we didn't even get the pre-draft visit yet.
Yeah.
Now, Tomlin and Kahn not visiting, like that's something. That's where you say, hey, does that mean we're not going to draft in the first round? Because that's typically something that does take place for all of our other first-round picks. I'm going to say I'm not going to hold too much weight to it right now just because this is Omar Khan we're dealing with. This isn't the Kevin Colbert way specifically. Omar Khan's done a lot of different things compared to Colbert in his short 2 years here. It just feels like, I mean, some of these moves and everything, these weren't moves Kevin Colbert's made. So I'm not going to hold that much stock in, but just the fact that, we've shown legitimate interest in these two guys all the way through. We finally got this pre-draft visit, the top 30 visit, checked off too. It makes me feel good that, yes, all right, we could legitimately take these guys in the first round because we need to. Like, that's what it really comes down to for me. I would have been concerned if we didn't have these top 30 visits with these two. They're two of the top three centers in this draft. And we need a center. We've talked about this ad nauseum over the last however many podcasts. We need to draft a center in the first round. As simple as that. So at least we've done proper due diligence.
Yeah. The only way that I would have been comfortable with them not meeting with those guys is if it was the Kenny Pickett approach. Where remember they talked about how we were hearing them talk about Malik Willis, Matt Corral, all these other guys, and it was like, yo, it's real hush hush on Kenny. But they said it was because they already knew that was what they wanted, and they were trying to see if these other guys could kind of like change their mind on it.
Yeah, and that's fair. You don't know that till after the fact.
So I was like, that would be the only way that I kind of would have thought like that. But now at least we know across the board, the big three dudes we've seen.
I'm
we've
not
met.
seeing Barton on this list though.
No, for me, Graham Barton, it was because Arthur Smith went out to his pro day. Okay. So I'm saying to myself, if Arthur Smith is at your pro day, yeah, you important, bro.
We're still waiting for that visit.
Yeah, in terms of waiting on the visit, yes. But for Arthur Smith to go to his pro day, that's...
So maybe Powers Johnson and Frazier have a leg up over Barton for the first round pick.
I don't necessarily agree. I don't necessarily agree with that because I think Arthur Smith being there, when you go to the pro day, you're going to not just get the workout, but you're going to get the meeting as well. Whereas when I think of the top 30 visit, man, you're getting medical, you're getting meetings, but it's no workout. Like, you're not going to see me do anything on the field. We in suits. We just talking, get me in the classroom. You can still do that pro day, too. So that's why it's like for Arthur Smith specifically, because usually pro days, man, if you're not like one of the guys, man, they send the scouts out there to that type of stuff, man. They don't really send like head honcho type cats out there. Arthur Smith, man, that's the offensive coordinator, a former head coach, and a dude that's background is offensive line. So for him to be there, that's like a defensive coordinator being there. That's like I said, the head coach of the GM being there. That's why I look at that one just as I don't think there's necessarily a leg up. I think it's still just as significant, but just different in terms of what they were looking at, you know?